What up, peeps? It's your girl, Dash, coming back to Fernal Takes. Well, you guys, today's video has to do with a review of a new TV series I wanted to start doing and had been waiting patiently. As you all know, I've been discussing this basically off and on for like the last, I want to say almost a year. This has to do with DC's The Swamp Thing. I'm excited that I finally get to review something I've been waiting for well over a year. Now, this is the one I've been discussing off and on. We've seen the trailers. This has to do with a show produced by Len Wiseman and James Wan. Now, for this one, I'm going to be discussing kind of like a breakdown of the first episode, the pilot episode, which was actually directed by Len Wiseman. If you all should know, he's, of course, involved with the movies like the Underworld franchise, and has done many more, but that's just enough encompassed because I love that he deals with horror, and I just feel like with that horror aspect being involved with this actual show has me very excited. Now, before I get into the recap, I will say first and foremost, the first episode, the pilot, was wonderful. It was awesome, and I'm very happy. I'm loving the way we're steadily getting into how things are going to be with the certain key characters in the show. So you know what that said? Let's just go and jump into it. Now, the way this set up, I like how it goes right into it. It's very dark. And I like the overall look of it, how it has that dark tone, dark feel, because you see the scene of a character with two gentlemen. It's three guys on a boat in the middle of the swamp at night, of course, doing things they should not be doing, but of course it is. And one of the characters is played by R.J. Seiler. He is actually out there kind of locating areas where they are actually putting certain, as they said from the trailer, illegal dumping of some sort of, I want to say liquid substance or whatever that's in some sort of kind of syringe, so to speak. And needless to say, they're doing what they are being paid to do, but then not realizing that something is lurking and it's within the swamp. It's basically the swamp who is trying in some ways to fight back. So when they start to notice certain things happening, one of them of course falls into the water. R.J. Seiler's character, he tries to get him out, then of course he ends up getting kind of pushed more into the water. So the two other gentlemen are stuck in there and they're kind of wondering what's going to happen. So by then they kind of realize that they might be in danger and they're trying to basically do whatever they need to do to stay alive. And of course by that time you see a scene where he takes out some sort of stick of like dynamite of some sort, whatever, and tries to throw it into the water to kind of cause some sort of a ripple effect where whatever they think is happening will just stop. And let's just say it does not happen that way, because in that particular scene there's a scene where of course the swamp definitely fights back, and let's just say that the character played by R.J. Seiler gets his just dues, and it is a very heinous death, but rightfully deserved because of what he is doing. He's illegally dumping certain things within the water, and he should not be doing that. And yeah, they're not having it. So kind of from there you see the scene where it goes right into where we meet from the trailer the little girl. Her name actually is Susie. Within the next couple episodes you'll see, but her name is Susie. She's sitting in, of course, you all remember her, a little bit of some sort of, gooey substance coming from her nose, and she coughs up some more. And she, of course, is standing up to get the teacher's assistant. Teacher, for some reason, I'm surprised, can't look at her, but of course the kids around her notices it, and they say, oh, she falls, she faints. And that's when the teacher eventually figures out something is not right, and they have to call, 911. Now from there you do see the scene of Abby Arcane, who we're going to get introduced throughout the course of the actual series, where she's played by Crystal Reed. She's actually, I think, in Congo, the Republic of Congo, doing her work, and she's dealing with a particular case. Two young siblings. The older brother, I want to think, is trying to protect his sister, and she comes and she speaks the native, and she kind of gets the brother to kind of put down that guard and to help his sister. And he thinks that they're going to take his sister and leave him. He's like, no, you're going to go together. We're going to make sure she's okay and make sure you're okay. And it's a scene where she, of course, after she takes his sister and the other guy grabs the little boy's hand, it shows her back with one of her colleagues and friends played by Leonard Nam. He, of course, is kind of just talking to her about some things, and he kind of brings up, it's about a case that's happening, and he has to tell her it's happening where she used to live and reside. And of course it has her very worried that she ends up going back to her hometown, which is Marseille, Louisiana. So you see the scene of them driving the vehicle, and from there you see the scene where she's kind of talking to him. He's asking her how long it's been, and she's like, it's been a while. This is when you see a scene which I think over the course of the season I really hope they kind of go into, because I definitely like when they do a flashback I want more. I want to know more. So it shows her kind of looking into the distance. You see what looks like to be a reef near or overhead, like a bridge you're going over, driving over. You see the reef at the beginning of the bridge, and as they were driving across, you see flashbacks of her kind of look like she's getting into some sort of argument with a girlfriend, one of her friends, and then you see a scene of said friend standing on top of the bridge, like they're looking down, like they, who knows what they're going to do, but probably that moment feeling, scared or whatever, and considering doing something, they really shouldn't be doing. And from there, it just kind of shows her, having a moment where she's kind of reliving. He's, unbeknownst to him, knowing what she's actually thinking about, so he has no clue. So from there, you do see the scene where she shows up at the actual facility, and she's working with the CDC to figure out what is this disease that's going around. She's needing all of them to help her, do what they need to do, stay gloved, protect yourself, whichever. We're going to get to the bottom of this, whichever. And she's setting up little kind of parameters and directions of what they need to do so they can be at full capacity to do their job at the best of their ability. And it shows, of course, her friend, they're all going to be there to assist, especially with Susie being one of the first situations that have come up where they can see that this thing is really becoming an issue. They haven't shown any other people, but she seems to be the main focal point at the moment in this particular episode. So from there, you kind of see the scene where it shows her going in there to see Susie, and she comes across some sort of substance that looks like it might have been within her, whatever. They're thinking they might have found it and latched on while she was being brought to hospital, but it might have come out of her. They just really don't know, and something is just not right with that. So of course you see the scene later where Abby is kind of around the hospital, and she comes across a gentleman by the name of Alec. He's of course going through some documents, trying to get some information about, I think, said Susie. And she's like, I've never seen you, what are you doing? And he's like, he's just looking for some information, whichever. Unbeknownst to her, that he's already been trying to get information, because one of the nurses recognizes him, and he realizes that he's in trouble because he shouldn't be in there. He snuck back in probably, and from there he lets it be known, you're going to want to talk to me, because he feels he could help with whatever she's doing in regards to figuring out what is really going on, if it's certain things they can do to work to help each other so she can help, figure out what can be a cure. So by then you see the scene of her going to find the parent to Susie to figure out what's going on. That's when she comes across an old friend from high school, childhood friend named Matt Cable. And that's when they kind of have a little moment where, she's like, oh, wow, you're a cop now. So, of course, he goes, whichever. And they're like, I hate that, we're meeting on, bad circumstances. She's here for work as well as him. And from there, it shows him going to home looking for the father to Susie. That's when they kind of start noticing certain things look a little awry. That's when they see that it obviously is something happened in this home. And as they get closer, they start hearing some noise. So they travel around to the house and go into the back room. And you hear like the little saw of some sort at the moment, because if you looked at the trailer, you're wondering what the heck. But come to find out, Alec has beaten him there. They're thinking it's him, but come to find out, they're like, no, he's trying to get a sample from the house, whatever. And he has explained to them, you're not really looking where you need to be looking. He kind of points, and that's when you see the scene where it shows Susie's father, who was one of the gentlemen that was in the boat at the beginning of the episode, where he definitely was trying to take some sort of pill, whatever, and all. And of course, the way the swamp is with the branches, whatever, wasn't having it, whatever, and it kind of took over his body. He looks like he's definitely planted up against the wall. His mouth is open, where you can see the wind in his mouth, or whatever. His pills are out, whatever. They're kind of just like in shock at what they're seeing. It is a lot to take in, because I'll be honest with you, when I first saw it, I really thought that was actually Alec in the middle of a transformation. I was totally off about that scene. So from there, you do see from there, they're kind of just looking, they're kind of dumbfounded, they don't know what to think. So then you see the scene of them standing outside. They've called, the authorities, whichever, so they can take his body, to the morgue, whatever, so she can eventually do her type of autopsy on his body. From there, you see a scene where Alec wants to talk to her. He's like, I have more information. I need to explain to you what's going on, whichever, because she's not really grasping the full situation with what she's seeing, what's in front of her, because it's just not making any sense. She's never seen anything like this. So from there, it shows him on the boat. They're going over to his place that he's staying at, and he kind of basically explains to her the situation of what is in some sort of, little vial thing, kind of let her know at the top is water, but then at the bottom is some sort of liquid, whatever, which is in the swamp. There's something that's definitely been added into the water. That's when she starts to realize there's a lot more going on in this area with the swamp, with the water, something is happening, they're not getting all the information they need. So from there, he decides to show her an example of what's happening with said information with that. And that's when you see the scene where he does a couple of drops, he puts in there, he puts into something that's contained, and it starts to grow out of the little pastry dish, excuse me. And it starts to kind of overpower him. By then she's like, Alec, you know, you need to, you know, he starts to diffuse it, and he uses, you know, an extinguisher, and it kind of stops it from going, which is good to know, key. So from there you see what looks like to be some sort of emergency town meeting. Now understand what's going on with certain people in the actual community of Marseille dealing with the situation. Just like I said, Susie's the main one we're seeing. They're not really showing other people just yet, and they're understanding what's going on. So of course that's where we get introduced to Avery and Maria Sutherland. Those two characters are played by Will Patton and also Virginia Madsen. And let's just say that my thoughts off the cuff, and I'm going to get into that towards the end of this actual recap. They just kind of basically try to get the people to simmer down, whichever. Alec does show up, and he kind of wants to listen to hear, whichever. Now, he says all these things about what's so great about, you know, Marseille. There was a lot of things that happened, you know, I lost my daughter, but there's so many things about this, you know, this town, whatever, certain magical things, whatever, you know it, you all feel it, whatever. Just saying a whole bunch of, you know, just, you know, crap that he's trying to pitch to them. And some of the people ain't buying it, some are not here for it. It's like all the money you're spending on these tests, you should be helping your town, your community. And I kind of agree, because of course you can tell he's mainly one of the bigwigs in the town with the money and all that know-how. So, you know, that's kind of really interesting there. So towards the end, you see the scene where Alec does confront Avery, talking to him. He's like, I thought you were gone, you know, I, you know, let you go. Come to find out he was, you know, fired. More layers to Alec as we learn as, you know, time goes on, you know, in the episode. And of course they're having this conversation. He's trying to explain to him there's a lot more going on, you know, the things I'm trying to explain to you, whatever, and all this, so I could be of service, but he doesn't want to hear it. Again, we'll definitely get into that at the end of this recap. So needless to say, from there he was like, don't worry about it, I'll take care of it. And he's just like, Alec already feels like, you know, he's giving me the run around. There's something going on. It's almost like he doesn't want to admit it. He wants to act like he's blind to it, or does he know a lot more about it? So basically from there, you see the scene where it shows them now going to do the autopsy. It shows Abby actually in the midst of it. He shows back up, and they're kind of going through the stuff, the Val. She's looking at some stuff, whichever, with him that he's showing through, you know, his, you know, microscope, whichever. And that's kind of when you start to see the scene where the father, who's laid up on there, whichever, and all, after she's done like a little, you know, pick over his body, he starts to kind of open up, whatever. And I'm going to tell you, when I see this scene, the first thing that comes to my mind when I saw that scene, I started thinking of the movie The Thing, because it just reminds me of that, whatever, when the chest opens up and this stuff starts coming out, whatever. Now, granted, this stuff comes down to his feet, and all of a sudden it stands up, and you see the look of Abby freaking out, and she's trying, you know, to get far away from, of course, Alex trying to protect her. Then you see the thing kind of gets up off the ground, whatever. At first, you know, the head, you know, fell down. I'm just like, oh God, this straight out of The Thing. I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm having flashbacks from the movie. It was just so uncanny about certain scenes that it does those certain replicas, whichever, of certain scenes from there. But from that, you know, you see the scene where, of course, the thing latches onto her leg, is dragging her, whichever. And of course, Alec gets a hold on her, of course. And then it kind of shows where the daughter is kind of, whatever's happening to her is linking her to this, where some sort of connection, because of course she gets up and she comes and then she yells out to her father talking about daddy, whatever, and he kind of must have realized or whatever, and she passes out. And then from there you kind of see the scene where Alec tries to get the attention of the creature, and you see the scene where Abby's able to get out and pick up, you know, little Susie and kind of get away, even though the parts of the, you know, whatever, the swamp that's taking over his body is trying to stop her. By then, Alex is able to do something where he can pierce certain, you know, certain chemicals together to cause a fire, and then uses that to, you know, once it burns up, to diffuse it with an exterminate, you know, type of fire extinguisher, excuse me. So that was a good scene. I actually enjoyed that, because I loved how that one turned out. We saw a little bit of just a quick little, you know, a couple seconds in the trailer, but this one, just to see how it really actually happened, was a nice little effect on that. So from there, you kind of see the scene where she decides to go into this little place where she's meeting up with one of her friends, played by Maria Stern. And she is a character where she works at this bar, you know, to help out, you know, with the family, but she also is like an investigative reporter. So when they go there, they're going there to get a drink and also get some work done to find out what's going on. Of course, you know, she gives her information about how, you know, words out that, you know, certain people are going out into the swamp at certain times of night, you know, which gives off a red flag. Hence, as you saw at the beginning of the episode of the pilot, And that's kind of when they start discussing, what's really going on. Or is there something, we're kind of looking or we're missing, whatever, there's a lot more to this story because what's going on in the swamp? What are they doing? Why is this stuff happening to these people? What is being put out there? What's happening? And that's kind of when you end up seeing the scene of Maria Sutherland coming in, and that's when they both have to get up because she wants to speak to Abby. Now this is a scene I'm really looking forward to kind of delving into a little bit more, because definitely they're giving Abby something to work with regards to dealing with this little disease that's going around, whatever, but also knowing more about her life and her past. Clearly from the flashback we saw, early on in the beginning of the episode. So she has a conversation with her, and she lets it be known. This is when it kind of opens up floodgates. Come to find out, she was friends with Maria and Avery's daughter, whichever, kind of like took her under her wing. Certain things happen when she's within college, and something happens prior to her graduating from college where they lose their daughter. I think her daughter's name is Shauna, if I'm not mistaken, Sutherland, within the show. And let's just say that it took a toll on Mom to the point where she was drinking, and certain things start to happen where she thought she was going to lose everything, lose her husband, whatever, and all that. And she's like, they try to make her understand it wasn't her fault. It was Abby's fault. All this is because of Abby. So it's almost like something happened with the friend. I feel like on that bridge where she was standing up on it, where I'm thinking she might have taken her life. We don't know fully yet, but something definitely went down. And I'm really hoping we definitely get those flashbacks, a full straight out scene of the flashback. So from there you see the scene. She's like, you helped the little girl. Once she's, better and all that, she's like, I want you to leave town. I don't want you staying here. Like, I'm letting you stay here to do this, whichever, as if they have that type of pull, whichever. Clearly she does, because she's definitely having people follow her. That's the only reason she knew where Abby was, because why would she know she was there? It's not like she told anybody. She told her girlfriend who was actually there. So from there, you definitely see the scene of her, kind of having a little moment, and you can see that her friend and Alec know there's definitely something behind that whole situation right there with Maria and Abby. So from there you see the scene where they go together and they go into the, out into the water swamp, and they come across the boat from our previous episode where the boy was killed, tragic style, literally just fatality style, honestly. And they find some stuff. They find his laptop, and they also find what they had taken, they were trying to probably go and put somewhere, which is another box that has like those 2 vials or serum, syringes inside, whichever, and they decide they need to really definitely check and figure out what is really going on. So kind of from there, you see the scene where she's having a moment, and she's drying herself off, and they're talking, whatever, and kind of want to get some stuff, clear the air a little bit. And she's asking him questions, and she kind of, confesses that she Googled him and finds out some things about him. There's certain things that he, had written about, whatever. Some things were not true, like he had falsified a couple of things, whichever. He, of course admits some of that, but then he's like, not all of it was, whichever, but I did what I need to do to enhance the information that I need to get out there to the masses, whatever. And then also, definitely her not knowing that he was fired working for Avery just yet. So it kind of discusses what happened at the bar earlier, and she kind of goes into detail a little bit prior to something happening where a fact shows up and it kind of breaks conversation. He's like, what are you talking about? What happened? Because he wants her to finish, and I don't blame him, because it was a really good scene. And she just basically says, admitting that she feels like she killed her. But I feel like there's definitely more to the story. She might feel like she's a part of it by how everything's happened. Be if they had an argument that kind of pushed her to do this, but not say, hopefully not the one who actually did the accident or caused an actual accident. So like I said, I really need to see the situation of how it happened. I need the full flashback to truly understand what the heck happened there. So, but I love that because we're getting a little bit more in her backstory, so it can add on more to the storyline and into the show throughout the whole actual season. So from there, you do see the scene where he starts to, realize the information that they have, whether there could be some more of those things that I need to get the rest of those boxes out or whatever. So let me go out there while she's doing some data on his, actual, computer, whatever, and she stays back. So from there, it shows him picking up some more boxes, and unbeknownst to him, there's somebody in the water. Don't know if somebody's been following him or somebody's actually out there who's doing work for Avery or whomever is in charge. I feel it's Avery. And from there, he's like, hello, can I help you? And that's when he gets shot. And from there, you see the scene where he's trying to start the boat, but the guy uses something, and he lets up some sort of, I want to say, firework or whatever, or some sort of like bomb, whatever, that falls into the actual boat. Is that by that time Alec has to just dump himself into the actual water to get away. And from that scene, you see him, the guy drives off. Abby hears some sort of explosion. She goes to the window, sees clearly he's in trouble. So she, of course, leaves to go. This is the scene where you finally get to see an actual transformation. It's very quick, but you kind of get the premise of how it's going to turn out and how he definitely becomes what we are to know as the Swamp Thing, excuse me. And I actually liked the way it was done. It was a slow and steady way it happens, or whichever, and him in the water, whichever. And you see, like I said, Abby's trying to get to him, briefly, whichever. And in between the parts of them showing her trying to find him, calling his name out, searching. You see the scenes of these things piercing his side of his skin, or whichever. It's like they take like a gentleness, to him. And you just kind of see, like I said, the progression of what's happening, whichever, over and over. So by that time, you don't see anymore. You see Abby showing up. She's yelling for, Alex. She doesn't see him. She's turning around. And, of course, you start to see parts of the swamp coming, like she's some sort of threat, and dumps her over into the water. So, of course, she starts to notice that some of the swamp is kind of, moving and is trying to get to her. She swims over a little bit to shore, whichever, and she tries to get through and cut through, and she ends up coming across the body of the character played by R.J. Sauer. He's, of course, somewhere in the woods. They eventually took him off. If it's, the wood that they had yanked him up under through the boat, which was just savage. And by that time, she kind of backs up, and you kind of see a scene where it shows a lot of the like branches or whatever in the water kind of slowly, kind of walk themselves back. It's almost like they're being controlled or whatever, like, to kind of, clear the path or whatever. By that time, that's why you kind of realize why the path was being cleared. It's because the Swamp Thing is finally being revealed. We get to see him full, the Swamp Thing, of course, played by Derek Mears. And that scene I loved because, of course, the look of shock on her face. Who can blame her? And she's trying to go, of course, Alec, aka Swamp Thing, kind of probably disoriented a little bit and trying to get his, footing or whatever, trying to, grab on anything, whatever, to kind of get out the water, unbeknownst to him. And she's just trying to get far away from him. Eventually, she finds a way around some of the trees, whatever, and all that, and goes through and cuts through, whatever. And the part that is so sad is that you see him watch her run away, and she finally gets, farther and farther away, and he kind of just looks into, into the way, and he kind of just like lays his head down. I just feel so bad for him because Alec has no idea what has finally happened to him, and he's just basically just there, so it's like it hasn't truly hit him just yet. He's just thinking, he might have some stuff on him or whatever from being in the swamp, but does not really truly know what has actually happened to him. This first episode was a very good pilot episode. I think Lynn Wiseman did an excellent job. It had me totally engaged from the beginning. That opening scene was really good. It wasn't something just, cookie cut or whatever. No, they dived right in it where it shows, okay, what are they doing in the swamp? Why are they out there in the middle of the night with nobody else out there? Being, not as visible to anyone else out there, so you can do more of your dirty work at night. I will say this, like I stated, I'm looking forward to knowing the reason as to why he's having these illegal dumpings of this type of, whatever this concoction is being put into the water. It's definitely having an effect on the people. What exactly, somebody wants to call it some sort of, accelerant or something like that, whichever. But it's like, what is the purpose of this? I really want a little bit more information as to why. Why are they doing this? I know that definitely Avery Sutherland plays a part in this. If he's the big bad in this particular season, then I feel like, yeah, he plays a part. Plus, being that his wife feels like she has the connections, to tell, people they can't be her. Because, of course, she makes it known when she says out of all, there was it 4,000 whatever people, the one person gets picked, whatever, and she, of course, had to tell her, yes, I'm good at my job, whichever. So it just makes you wonder, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? How do you think this is going to benefit the people of the town? Or is this just to lace up your pockets with more, for you, all the while the people of the town are being, endangered, to the point where they can die. You won't have anybody in the town to work for you or do anything at all, depending on what, what's happening, whichever. So from there, that definitely is something that is on my mind that I really want to figure out. Also, same thing with Abby. I want to know what is going on with the situation with her past, with her best friend, of course, her mother, feeling that bond, losing her daughter, a part of her, whichever, has no desire for forgiveness. Yeah, you can see she's been gone for a long time. the wound still open. So clearly from that scene you can tell. Also, just understanding Alex, history, his backstory a little bit too. Hopefully, we'll get a little bit more information about what he was actually finding before he ended up, getting, introduced to Abby and working with her before this horrible accident happened to him. Also, just knowing some other characters on the show like Matt Cable, whichever. I did say when I was talking about this having a good cast. I feel like Jennifer Beals' character is most likely going to be the mother. I don't think she's going to be the sister. That's what I'm really vibing with that. I'm looking forward to seeing her. I'm looking forward to seeing Ian Ziering, who's supposed to be playing Blue Devil, aka Danny. I think Daniel, but they call him Danny, I think, on the show. Also, I want to see the woman who I think is blind. I cannot remember her. So I think she's Madam something, Zandu or something like that. My apologies for saying incorrectly. I want to see where she fits into all of this as well. So there's a couple of other characters, we are not fully introduced to just yet. So it's just the first episode. But like I stated, a great episode. Like I said, the transformation was really good. I enjoyed that scene. I love the scene where the reveal is and she gets to see it and she's like, okay, she's out of here. I'm like, oh my God, what's out here? So I'm definitely looking forward to episode 2. We're going to a good start. I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. So yes, you guys, comment below if any of you all have watched the first episode. They seem like they're basically the way the streaming service definitely is with this particular service one for DC Universe. It's like they're uploading them once a week, so it gives me kind of time to kind of go through it. I definitely got to finish 2 so I can upload that one as well right behind this one. But I don't mind that. It gives me a little bit of time to kind of process the episode, watch it multiple times like I did this one, and just kind of figure out what I really want to kind of dig into, whichever. So I'm definitely looking forward to the second one. So, but with that said, you guys, again, comment below, let me know what you all think if you did get a chance to watch it yourself. And with that said, I will see you guys on the next TV review. You guys take care.